Hello there. UK Chancellor Jeremy Hunt just drove the final nail into the coffin of workers and small businesses, proving that the markets and the WEF types really are the masters. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. So Jeremy Hunt climbed to his feet and declared the economic aim of his autumn statement was stability, growth and public services. But all I can see coming from this is a stable decline across the board, especially in the small business backbone of the country. The multi-millionaire World Economic Forum undynamic duo, parachuted in for just this purpose, stuck two fingers up at small business, the UK worker and public tradition as they decided to increase the tax burden on the great unwashed, whilst harping on about protecting the poorest and most vulnerable. How on earth does screwing down on small businesses help the job prospects of workers and the self-employed who've already had to jump through hoops to make a living over the last couple of years? And the Treasury has already had to concede that 55% of us will definitely be worse off when all this kicks in. With the highest tax rate since 1948, when we were rebuilding the country after a world war. The only good news out of all of this is that neither the Tories nor the Labour front bench tried to pin any of the blame on Brexit. Only silly people do that. People like the Governor of the Bank of England, who's trying to deflect from his tardiness in putting rates up earlier to combat inflation. And the report that the Office for Budget Responsibility prepared for this autumn statement did, helpfully for the Chancellor, say that our problems are down to global factors. But the Tories have pinned the blame on ordinary workers and small business owners. You know, the type of people who had to work at the coalface throughout the pandemic or have had their businesses trashed by inactivity while others worked from home or were paid to sit at home and not work. And those on benefits and pensioners will be protected, but so will the work shy and those living it up in hotels, if you get what I mean. This is not a budget that will inspire hard work. Probably more the opposite. Income tax thresholds have been frozen or even lowered for the higher paid, with the result that many will be swept up into higher tax bands and some will pay more tax even without a pay rise. And businesses that have already been hit with an extra 6% corporation tax bill will have to find more money for the increased living wage bill of their staff or reduce their headcount. Now, the Chancellor did increase benefits and the state pension by the full triple lock of 10.1%. But as I understand it, there is a state pension review due very soon, with talk of bringing forward increases in the state pension qualifying age. And that would offset some of the cost in the long run, but also pee off many younger workers in the process. And the smug electric car drivers got a wet fish slap across the face when the Chancellor confirmed to the House that electric cars will be put on the vehicle excise duty list. And that would make it fair to all motorists, said the Chancellor, so confirming to all of us that the current position is unfair. And while Sunak and Hunt are raiding our earnings, we learn that the government has wasted 14 billion quid on stuff like a luxury villa, vegan ice cream and wasteful civil service expenses. Yes, a Telegraph investigation uncovered that billions has been sprayed up against the wall, most of it during the pandemic. But that does not include things like money wasted on the HS2 project or the $6 billion spent on the MOD Ajax armoured car programme that might now have to be scrapped. So the total wasted could be a lot higher. So you would think that this budget, in any other name, being vaunted as including public spending cuts, would try to address this sort of thing. But no. What we'll see is a slowdown in public sector spending increases, but spending will still go up every year. And we don't know when this process will start, this year or next year or the one after that. When what we really need is a proper look at public spending right now to get it under control and back within our means, and fewer stealth tax hikes. But what it looks like we got is much higher taxes and a nod of acknowledgement to the need to reform the public sector. Sounds all so big tax, big state, big spending to me. From what more and more people are realising is just a blue-rinsed Labour Party. And it's interesting that the Chancellor has also brought in a new fiscal rule that public sector borrowing in the same year must be below 3% of GDP. Sounds like we've aligned ourselves to the EU fiscal rule that a member state's annual budget deficit should not be higher than 3% of GDP. And due to the Barnett consequential flowing from this autumn's statement, Scotland will get another 1.5 billion quid to help fund the SNP unilateral IndyRef 2. Now the big energy companies and electricity generators will be hit with more windfall taxes, and they will be funding about 14 billion of the 25 billion extra taxes raised by all of this. And at least we're going to get a nuclear reactor in the form of Sizewell C out of it too. But the Chancellor also wittered on about making the UK the new Silicon Valley and has pledged money for research and development. But I can't see what the incentive is for business to do anything other than to do the bare minimum to get through the next couple of years until they see what Labour will do to further trash the economy. In fact, with the tax thresholds and pension contribution thresholds being frozen, we might see an exodus from the workplace of the over 50-somethings as they down tools and head for an early retirement of gardening and the armchair, taking skills and expertise with them, even if it means a smaller than expected retirement income for them, thus reducing the Treasury tax take instead of increasing it. And the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, was just as uninspiring. All she did was blame everything on Tory government decisions, call Jeremy Hunt a pickpocket, and then expend a lot of hot air while not telling us how Labour would be any different. It looks like the whole political establishment in Westminster has decided that hard work is now a dirty concept and that people would be encouraged into a life in the public sector or within a big corporate structure. Individual aspirations and ambitions do not seem to be in vogue right now. All very socialist, all very WEF-like. Now, many pundits have been saying that all this is a sign of a tired Tory government that has run out of ideas and is now well past its sell-by date. But you know what? When I look at the two opposing front benches, they both look as tired of all of this and as devoid of ideas as each other. At the end of the day, both the Tories and Labour have come to the same conclusion: build a massive state and then tax anyone or anything productive into the ground to fund it. So much for the nation of shopkeepers. I don't trust any of those useless politicians to do anything other than trash the country, and I get the distinct feeling that's their aim. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.